G'day and welcome to Disc Golf Down Under. It's Matt here, and this week we're looking at a contender for the craziest disc out there. So the manufacturer of this disc claimed that you will throw it further than any other disc, and they called it an ultra long range driver. And there were calls for the PDGA to ban this disc, but to this day it still remains legal. So let's jump in and check out the Aerobie Epic. So a big shout out to James Nickel, who sent me not one, but 3 Aerobie Epics to try out. Now this disc is pretty hard to find these days. It's no longer in production, but if you do look around, you may find it in some stores. This disc has become a bit of a collector's item. And previously I made a claim a few months ago that the Innova Groove was the worst disc out there. But on Infinite Discs, the Groove scores an average rating of 3.01, whereas the Epic is 3.59. So there's a little bit more love from the golfers out there for the Aerobie Epic. So the Aerobie brand is pretty well known around the world, and it dates back way back to the 1970s when Alan Adler, the founder of the company, invented a toy called the Slapsy, and he licensed that product to the Wemo toy company. And you might recognize Wemo because they also invented the Frisbee. So that's where it all started. And the Frisbee started back in 1957. And Adler loved the Frisbee. The traditional Frisbee was a short range, just a throwing around the backyard. But Alan wanted to invent something that could fly long distances. And that's where he came up for his design of the flying ring. So his first design was called the Skyro, and it was released back in the 1970s. And it set a distance record of 261 meters or 865 feet back in 1980. So Adler went on to continue improving the design, and in 1984 he released what he called the Aerobie and started off his company called Superflight. And that company was then renamed later to become Aerobie because of the popularity of the disc. And the Aerobie Pro holds the current world record for the longest throw, and this was set in 2003 at 406 meters or 1,333 feet. So this is for an unassisted, without wind, long distance throw. And it was at this time back in 2003 that Aerobie decided to also get into disc golf, and they brought out 2 discs, the Aerobie Epic, which was their ultra long range driver, and they also brought out a putter. And they claimed that these were the 2 discs, the only 2 discs that you would need to play disc golf. So first there was the putter, which was a very unusual lid-shaped putter called the Arrow, and also the Epic, and that's what we're looking at today. They also released 3 other discs back in 2005 called the Sharpshooter number 1, 2 and 3, but the market really wasn't there in disc golf at the time, and Aerobie was selling a lot of other products in other areas, and they decided to get out of disc golf discs shortly after. And today they continue selling their Aerobie rings, they sell ultimate discs, they sell their boomerang ring, the Orbiter, and dog discs and footy rockets. So let's jump in and have a look at the specifications of the Epic. So the diameter of the disc is 211 millimeters, which is very similar to most drivers these days. But the rim width, it has a very unusual shaped rim, and that's where it gets its name. And it ranges from 26 millimeters on one side of the disc to 41 millimeters on the other. The max height is 14 millimeters, and at the rim it is 11 millimeters. And it has a max weight of 169 grams. The official flight rating from Aerobie is 11, 3, -2 and 4, which is quite unusual, and we'll discuss that a bit more in a minute. So the disc is PDGA approved, however the PDGA have decreed that they will no longer approve discs with the same design elements as the Epic. So the Epic gets its name from the design. So you can see that the rim is an unusual shape. It's actually what we call epicyclic. So planetary gear systems are epicyclic, and so this is a circle that is offset from the axis of the disc. The other strange thing about this disc is that it floats on water. When you throw it into a headwind, it actually flies further. You can't ride on it with a permanent marker, it won't stick. And it's been banned by the PDGA for long distance throwing competitions. You can throw it like a normal disc with a backhand or a forehand, but where this disc really shines is in the overhand throws. So we'll show that to you shortly. And the other thing about this disc is that it is tunable. So we can bend the disc and it will hold its shape. So there's not many other discs out there that will do that. So I can bend it down or I can bend it up and I can change the wing shape. So the Epic can be tuned. Now the box that the disc comes in instructs the user to fold it down if you want the disc to turn right, and to fold it up if you want it to turn left. So the plastic's not very flexible and it will hold the bend, so it won't jump back to its normal shape like most disc golf discs will. And unfortunately this also means that the disc is very susceptible to damage. So if you hit a tree, it knocks it out of shape, and these discs don't last very long. So let's jump in now and do our flight testing of the Epic. And we're going to be throwing 3 Epics today. They're all very similar weights, 168, 169. And this is a great disc to teach beginners the importance of the wing shape and how it affects the flight of the disc. So time for a quiz. I'm going to start by folding the disc upwards. So I'm going to go around the disc and bend the wing shape up. And so when I throw this disc, how do you think it will fly? So folding the wing up makes this disc very overstable, and it wants to go left and get to the ground quickly. It also doesn't have much glide, and we're not going to get a lot of distance out of the disc in this configuration. So next, let's get the disc and let's bend it in the opposite direction. So now I'm going to bend it down, and as we go around and bend the wing shape down. So I've got the wing bent down, and let's throw it. And what do you think it's going to do now? So now the edge of the disc is lower, and this makes the disc more understable and it wants to turn right. So this quick lesson will show you how discs will fly, basically by looking at their wing shape. So discs with the rim up high, what we call a high parting line height, will be stable and will want to turn left. And ones where the parting line height is down and the rim is lowered will be understable and want to turn right. And so with the Epic tuned to be very understable, I can throw it on a steep hyzer, it will flip up the flat, glide and penetrate for a long way. Now where the Epic really shines, and a lot of people use it in their bag, is for the overhand throw. So they might use it for the thumber, where we put the thumb on the inside of the disc and throw it like that, or the tomahawk, which is like a forehand type throw and also throwing overhand. So when the Epic is tuned to be overstable, so when we bend it upwards, it acts like any other overstable disc that you might have in your bag, very consistent, and very good for targeted throws. And I found this very, very consistent. When I was throwing the overstable overhand, it was ending out at around the same distance all the time, and it was also very accurate. But when you tune this disc to be understable, it acts like no other disc out there. And unfortunately, I don't have the power to get the most out of this disc, but for those people that have a nice strong overhand throw, you can throw it up, gets plenty of height, it spirals around, and then as it comes out of the spiral, it'll come back out into a glide, and some people can get it to glide quite a long way. So you can see why the Epic has been banned by the PDGA in disc golf distance throwing competitions. It is almost a cheat, and in the right hands, this disc will just fly forever. So how about that flight rating? So the official speed rating on this disc is 10, but it's a 25mm, 26mm rim. That brings it up into the territory of a speed 15 disc. And really that's how it behaves. It is a speed 15. When it's tuned to be overstable, it's probably got not a lot of glide, so probably 15.3, no turn, and a lot of fades. So I would say the flight rating on this is probably a 15.305 when it's tuned into its max overstable condition. And when we go the other way into the understable condition, again, speed 15, probably a lot of glide, so up there around 5, so 15.5, and probably a -3 turn, and a little bit of stability, a little bit of 1 to come back at the end. So the Epic is made from a very rubbery plastic, which means it has a lot of grip, even in wet conditions. I love throwing this in moist, wet conditions. The huge rim, the 26mm, means that it's not for small hands, and you need to have some experience throwing long distance drivers. The disc also lacks durability, so you're going to want to have some spares. Now, the real problem with this is that this disc is no longer in production. You can find them, so if you do like this disc, you'll want to make sure that you get a good stock of them so that as they wear out, you can replace them. So who is this disc for? Well, the Epic is, for most players, a bit of a novelty. It is very popular with a few players, and you will see it. If you look on YouTube, you'll find a few players out there that do love their Epics, and they can do some amazing things with them. That does require a lot of practice to get used to the disc. They are very inconsistent. You have to try and tune them, and it is difficult to get the same tuning each time, especially when you're going for that understable setup. So you'll find the disc misbehaves and can do some unusual things. And there's a reason you won't find this disc in Paul Macbeth or any other pro's bag. It's the inconsistency that really lets it down. And finally, if you're on a disc golf course with lots of water, because this thing floats, you might like this as well. So final thoughts. The Aerobie Epic has to be up there as a contender for the most craziest disc out there. I don't think it's the worst disc. It's actually quite fun to throw, and you can get some really big distance bombers out of it. And the real problem with the Epic as a disc golf driver is if you're out in the course and you throw this thing badly, everyone's going to laugh at you. And if you throw it really well, everyone's going to call you a cheat. So that's it for this review. I hope you enjoyed this one. Let me know in the comments if you agree with the assessment of the Epic as the craziest disc out there. And also don't forget to subscribe to Disc Golf Down Under for more disc golf content. So good luck out on the golf course, and we'll catch you in the next one.